All right, let's get right into it. When an event like the shooting at Fort Stewart takes place, that first official report is absolutely critical. So today, we're going to break down the official press conference. We're talking the key facts, who was involved, and the big questions that are still out there, all coming straight from the source. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll nail down the core details of the shooting itself. Then, we'll take a closer look at the people involved. From there, we'll dive into the incredible response and heroism on the ground. And we'll wrap up with the ongoing investigation. You know, what we actually know versus what we don't.
Okay, first things first. Let's lay out the foundational facts. What exactly went down at Fort Stewart? And when?
So right off the bat, this is the quote from Brigadier General John Lubis that just lays it all out. Shortly before 11 a.m., an active duty soldier opens fire and wounds 5 of his own fellow soldiers. Just a sudden, shocking burst of violence in a place that's supposed to be safe. The incident was pinpointed to Fort Stewart, Georgia, but more specifically, it was right inside the area for the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team. And here's the key detail that the general confirmed. This wasn't some random location. This was the alleged shooter's own workplace.
All right, now let's shift our focus to the people at the very heart of this event, the soldiers who were wounded and the individual who was taken into custody.
5. That was the number that really hung over the entire press conference. 5 soldiers, all colleagues of the shooter, were wounded in the attack. Their condition became the absolute top priority for the entire base, and it was the one piece of information everyone was desperately waiting for.
And look, this was probably the most important update to come out of the briefing, and thankfully it was good news. All 5 soldiers are stable and are expected to make a full recovery. They were first treated on base, but the injuries were serious. 3 of them needed surgery and 2 had to be moved to a civilian hospital in Savannah for more advanced care.
While all of this was happening, authorities moved fast. They quickly identified the alleged shooter and took him into custody. He was named as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, another active duty soldier from that very same brigade.
All right, so let's take a look at the profile officials gave us. The alleged shooter, Sergeant Radford, is 28 years old. He's an automated logistics sergeant in the 2nd Armored Brigade. And this is a really important point. Officials confirmed he had 0 combat deployments. By the time of the briefing, he was already in pretrial confinement. So, you have this incredibly dangerous situation unfolding. How on earth was it brought under control? Well, according to the official report, it really came down to 2 things: the formal emergency response and some truly remarkable acts of bravery.
And this is a point the general really wanted to drive home. He made it clear he wanted to thank the brave soldiers who were right there when it happened. He said they witnessed the shooting and, in his words, immediately and without hesitation jumped in and subdued the shooter. No question about it, they stopped this from becoming much, much worse.
So if you look at the sequence of events, it was incredibly rapid. It all starts with that crucial intervention by the other soldiers. Then, medical teams are swarming in to get the wounded evacuated. Right after, Army law enforcement and their local partners show up to lock down the scene. And only then, once the threat was confirmed to be over, was the base-wide lockdown lifted.
Okay, so the immediate crisis is over. But that's really just the beginning of the story, because now the investigation kicks into high gear. So what did officials actually confirm, and what were the big questions they were still trying to figure out?
Really, the investigation at this point boils down to 2 simple columns: what we know versus what we don't. We know a personal handgun was used. We know what happened at his workplace and involved his coworkers. But then you look at the other side and the questions are huge. The motive? A complete mystery. How did a personal handgun get onto the base to begin with? And were there any warning signs, any prior issues on base? These are the critical questions investigators are digging into right now.
So this is where the official report leaves us. We have the suspect in custody, and the basic facts of what happened are clear. But that fundamental question, why this happened, is still just hanging in the air. That's now the absolute focus for investigators, and whatever they find will define the next chapter of this story.